Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Hey, welcome to this episode of the No Closure Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to be here with you today. Today's topic on the Monday Note comes from an article released September 30th by Attom. I always usually go over and check the Attom report on some good stuff. So I have to give a big shout out to my buddy and coaching student, Antron Dent, who actually shared this article to LinkedIn first this morning. And I was out in my morning walk. I was like, oh, I've been looking for that. And I've completely spaced on that because of stuff that we got going on. So, because I get this question all the time. Are we going to see another 2008? Where are all the foreclosures at? When are we going to see stuff in the MLS at a discount? And here's the big thing. I don't necessarily think, I don't think we're going to see another 2010 where we saw 15 million homeowners underwater, right? We still have a historically low amount of default. People distressed. Okay. Now, there are people struggling to get by. We still consistently see about 1 in 9, 1 in 10 borrowers who are at least 30 days behind on their mortgage. But what we're talking about on the underwater mortgages, that's really the number one distress point. How many people are underwater? Doesn't mean they're in Atlantis or they're off the coast of Florida or their house in Malibu fell into the ocean. Okay. It means their house is worth less than what they owe on it. They have more on their mortgage than they have house. Okay. And I was kind of surprised by these numbers. Now, this article literally came out by Jennifer Von Pullman, out of home. She does home sales and prices, real estate news, recent articles in Attom. And I found it pretty interesting. So I want to get straight to, because basically the article broke down, values have gone up. Those families, actually, let me just pull this up here. The article, so you guys we can walk through it a little bit. It's pretty interesting. It talked about how folks that are equity rich. And what does equity rich mean? It means they have at least here we go. More homeowners are equity rich. For the second quarter, more mortgaged residential properties units were considered equity rich. Equity rich means that the combined estimated amount of loan balances secured by property is no more than half of a state estimated market value. It means a lot of people have equity. The property's going up. At the national level, the portion of home mortgages that were seriously underwater in the U.S. also declined during the second quarter and was at the lowest level since at least 2019. Now, this is Q2's numbers ending. Okay, Q3s aren't out yet. Okay. Median national house price shot up 9% to $365,000. That's a good thing. But here's equity rich levels were up in 31 states measured annually. Okay. In Kentucky, the portion of mortgage homes considered equity rich increased from 28.7% in the first quarter to 37.4% in the second quarter. In Illinois, the portion of equity rich homes rose to 36% from 28%. Missouri was up from 38.3%. Was up 38.3% to 45%. Okay. Oklahoma from 28% to 34%, and Alabama from 35% to 41%. Okay. Now, whilst the South and Midwest saw big increases in equity rich homes, the same regions also have high rates of seriously underwater mortgage levels. So what was great is this article broke it down. I think you all need to know this. In which states have the most amount of underwater mortgages as far as a complete quantity amount, how many homes, and then they also broke it down by the top 10 for percentages. Some of those states were named. So if we go to the next slide, here's a list of the top 10 states with underwater mortgages by number, by pure count. Okay. Kind of surprising. Texas was number one overall with a count of seriously underwater mortgage. By seriously underwater, I mean by 25% or more. Okay. 25%. Let me go back and make sure of that. Go back to the article, Scott Carson. All right. Basically, at least 25% more than the property's estimated net worth. Exactly. So that's kind of interesting, as well as Texas has done in the last 10, 20 years. Okay. 109,000 plus homes are seriously underwater in Texas. It didn't break it down by geographic area, but that tells you the Lone Star State is not always so rosy. Okay. Illinois came at number 2 at 102, just under 103,000 at 102,825. Ohio was third at 91. Pennsylvania fourth at 88,000. California fifth at 85,000. Louisiana at just under 68 or 60, yeah, 60, 67,840. Florida, I think Florida is going to see a rapid increase because of the hurricane getting ready to hit it in the next 2 days. 61,000. Florida keeps climbing. Georgia, kind of surprising, just on 49,000. Michigan, just over 47. And Missouri, even though their equity rich homes have gone up, it's still top 10 at 46,500 homes are seriously underwater as far as number. Now, that kind of surprising. Now, if you were to reclassify this and take that number and divide by the number of homes, it'll obviously give you a percentage, right? Well, some of these don't make the top 10 on that when it comes to percentage. And who is that? We'll talk about. Well, Texas doesn't make the top 10 when it comes to percentages. Okay. I don't believe Florida's on there either. So let's flip over there. Okay. So you can see Louisiana. Okay. Basically, this is the percentage. So basically, just over 1 in 10 homes is seriously underwater in Louisiana. It drops down. Mississippi is at 6.8, Kentucky at 6.3, Arkansas 5.4, Iowa at 5.2, North Dakota at 5%, Oklahoma at 5%, West Virginia at 4.7, Illinois 4%, and Missouri was at 3.9. Okay. Now that tells you it's still kind of low compared to where it's been in the past, but Louisiana's about obviously being hit hard. Now, how do you take advantage of this information? How do you apply it to your investing? That's the big thing. Well, if you're investing in one of these states, there you go. Look for stuff that's distressed. Let's talk about that. How do you find underwater homes? Not, like I said, put on your Scuba Steve uniform. Scuba Steve. Target foreclosure list. Look at the counties that you're buying in. Now, we featured a little bit on our shorts channel, on our YouTube shorts and our TikTok channel about the foreclosure numbers going up in most of the major counties in Texas. Harris County, the largest, went up. Dallas County went up. Bexar County went up. Travis County went up. Tarrant County went up. They're inching up each month. Now, some of that is proverbial kick the can down the road and let's try again next month kind of stuff. But foreclosures are up. Commercial foreclosures are up, especially here in Texas. They're starting to climb a little bit. Over 3,000 homes went to foreclosure or were on the foreclosure list basically a week ago tomorrow. Okay. So if you're looking for underwater homes, target foreclosure lists in the states or counties that you want to invest in. Okay. Target lenders who lend in these states for note tapes. And yes, lenders who lend in those states, especially like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Gulf Coast, they're going to have some distress. Those states have all hit. If we go back here to the map, like in these top 10, Louisiana, Mississippi, Kentucky, Arkansas, Oklahoma, West Virginia, all kind of the Gulf Coast, especially Louisiana, Mississippi, definitely the Southwest. I mean, of course, Illinois, Iowa, North Dakota surprised me a little bit. And Missouri kind of surprised me a little bit. But those are the top 10 states with percentages. Going back to those with the number of most amount, Texas is kind of a surprise, but I would be willing to bet that Harris County, which has been hit hard by hurricanes and flooding and stuff like that, is probably got a big chunk to do with it. There's a bit of correction going on in Texas and parts of the country where people bought a few years ago or bought in the last year and their prices corrected. We haven't seen a 25% reduction if you bought like a year ago, but we have seen a dip of 1 to 5% depending on where you live in Texas, especially here in Austin. I don't consider that a crash. I consider that a correction. Okay. But going in, how do you find these? Like I said, go to the foreclosure list. There's foreclosure lists in every state, every county does them differently. Know what your state laws are. Louisiana obviously is a judicial foreclosure. It's a parish system, so it's a French law, so it takes a little bit longer. It takes over a year to foreclose there. So be prepared for that. And also probably where you want to buy a house. You may not necessarily want to buy a more underwater house on the bayou. It might become underwater. Lenders who lend in those states will often have stuff available. We'll talk about a tape we just got in a few minutes ago. If you're in that area, you're a realtor, look for expired withdrawn listings. Oftentimes people, or FSBOs, for sale by owners is another one. You can actually purchase a list of all these in your area by going to myplusleads.com. It will send you a list daily of expires, withdrawals, FSBOs, for rent by owner as well too. You can adjust it, and it comes in really kind of handy. You'll see people that are underwater. It's going to be roughly about that percentage, but you've got to do a little bit of work. It's not as prevalent as it was back in 2010. You got to do some work to find underwater listings. Same thing. If you're a realtor, look for short sale listings. It's not as many as we've seen before, but there are starting to tick up a little bit. Look, if you're not a realtor, get a realtor to do a search for you. This is third-party approval required, or bank approval, or a short sale. Okay. Those are the things that are going to come in handy for you if you're looking for these types of underwater homes that you can get creative. Now, underwater homes may not necessarily be a bad thing if they've got a low interest rate. You may not need to do some things. I don't like to buy, I don't want to do sub-2 deals where it's just a low interest rate for cash flow and no equity. If it's a minimal amount, 25% is a lot though. If it's upside down by 25%, that's a lot to overcome. And it's probably not going to overcome anytime in the next 6 years. Capiche? All right. And then of course, like we just got this list in. This is 54 trouble loans from a bank. It's a big bank. Not going to name names, but they sent us this list, and this is where the map was. And it was kind of funny when I was looking at this map last night, because it came in Saturday from the broker, the bank's broker. And I was looking, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then I got that article pop up on LinkedIn. And I was like, okay, God's telling me to do an episode on this. But you can see, this is what it looks like. Arkansas, Memphis, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, all kind of fits in with that. So now this bank actually, it's a tape of about 200 notes, some agency loans that they want to move off their books that are less than 90 days, some stuff that's defaulted like these, and then some other upside down ones as well too for you. So it's got some opportunities. We'll be breaking down those tapes over the next couple of days. We'll probably do a webinar and video going through each one. But what are your thoughts? Do you live in a state that's in the top 10? I mean, I live in Texas. We see some underwater stuff. Even here in Austin, you see stuff in Dallas, but primarily it's in the Houston, Harris County area there for you. So check it out. We'll put a link into the full article in the description of this video. Look, these things just tell me one thing. There are people hurting, okay? No matter how great the economy everybody says it is, there are people hurting. And yes, in some of those states, they are seeing dramatic growth. You know, some of these states have seen a lot of appreciation up, and others have not seen, other parts of the state have not seen as rapid appreciation as you would like to hope. So there's opportunities. If you're a note buyer, you can actually, underwater mortgages actually work better in our favor when buying. So keep that in mind, because we can negotiate off the value of the property and get a huge discount off of the unpaid balance or the legal balance. Now, if there is equity, which a lot of these things have gone up with equity, that's also not a bad thing, but prepare to be paying 70, 80, maybe in some cases 90 cents of the dollar of the unpaid balance when there is a tremendous amount of equity on the back-end side. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful. We do have an upcoming class. Make sure you check it out, notebuyingfordummies.com, or go to the website weclosenotes.com. Friday, Saturday, Sunday class, we'll dive into breaking down some tapes. We'll show you how to find, fund, and flip these deals. And it's really the nuts and bolts A to Z training when it comes to being a note investor, and especially investing in the non-performing note space. So go out, ladies and gentlemen, have some fun. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the top.